Well, that sucked. That sucked, didn't it? This is the Sam Houston postgame show from Bearkat Bites, the Bearkat Bites podcast, the Bearkat Bites newsletter, everything. The links are in the description. Get the shirt if you want it. All right? If you still want to put it on after what you all just witnessed, get in here and sound off. Get in here and sound off. You ought to be upset. You ought to be disturbed by what you saw. If the program of Sam Houston State football, no, you're not supposed to say, no, I'm going to say the whole governing name. After what we saw, after what the fans, after what you were witness to, no. Sound off about Sam Houston State football. 37-10 against New Mexico State. Against the New Mexico State team that only had 5 days to recover from injuries and a crippling loss. Sam Houston coming in there with 12 days to have prepared for this game. And it looked like they had about 5 days. Well, it looked like they dumbed down the offense and just ran a bunch of read options. Problem. You got a quarterback who cannot master the high school concepts of the zone read. How many zone bad reads are you going to make? That's pretty much what ended up happening. Leads to turnovers, and then it snowballs. I mean, that's the entire problem with Sam Houston's State football right now. Get in here and comment. Sound off. Do you not like what I'm saying? You might not like what I have to say. Talk about it. Get in here. I wrote down a few things. Let's see what we've got here for you guys. I wrote down a few things in this debacle. Because understand something. Going into the season, it was supposed to be, the first 4 games are tough. I gave you all the stat in the pregame show about how these were all winning teams. The level of competition drops significantly. And perhaps this is the time to get it done. Not only are they not playing it close, but, well, there's little incremental improvements, but it continues to snowball. And into what is the worst loss of the year. This is the worst loss of the year. Understand that. So let me see. Let me make one more point here. What was practiced? That was a lot of what I was looking at. A lot of the time, there were better things the offense did. They had the great drive that ended in no points to start the game. There was a nice drive to get the touchdown. Christian Pavon made a guest appearance. Man, maybe he's back in the main role, in the starting role there. That was good. So Christian Pavon took 12 days and kicked a bunch of balls in practice. And that's what it's about. It's about learning resiliency and all that stuff in college football. That's a good story. So if he ends up the starter and has a nice finish to the season, good for him. That is amazing. But overall, the rest of it just bad. Just really, really bad. The biggest missed opportunity of the season. Biggest missed opportunity. Again, New Mexico State had their best day on the ground. A team that really wasn't running the football that well. Now, their average rushing yards weren't great at 3.1, but 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the problem. 2 touchdowns. Once again, you made this Logan Fife guy look amazing. Way too many home runs. This guy, TK King, 132 yards in the air, 19 completions. So 119 completions, at least on the year that Sam Houston has given up. It just continues to get bad. It just continues. And Iman Allen, I don't know. It's continuing to not look good. There was one play, I believe, late in the third quarter, early in the fourth, where it looks like he just slips right there on the edge and on that seam, and the receiver just runs right past him. I think it was a TK King. It was either him or Callaway. I couldn't remember. So that's disturbing. I've told you all there's a talent deficiency there. Some of you all kind of approach that opinion with hesitancy, and I hope you all are able to see it now. And this was a defense that really, really missed Jahmyr Diaz. It's like, man, this pass rush, it's not the worst plan in the world, although there were a lot of questions about it. It was pretty questionable. David Yost, the offensive coordinator for New Mexico State, has got he's kind of got the hair like Hanson. Yeah, I'm gonna be an unk again. Some of y'all remember Hanson from the 90s. Who remembers Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement? He looks like if Jonathan Taylor Thomas just got into his 40s and coached college football. And Freddie Autry-Lindsey got out coached by that guy. There was a lot of times where it's like, wow, I see what Freddie Autry-Lindsey's trying to do. However, this guy, he's got a counter and an answer for all of it. And it's like, wow, that's the first time it really became apparent. And maybe it was always there, and now it's a lot clearer because the competition, like we said, it really did drop. Let me see what we got here. Yeah. You know, I mean, there is nothing to say. There's nothing to say. You know, break down the game, break down the game and what happened and what we saw. You know, the difference in this game. What we are here to do, what I would like to point out is that this was supposed to be the turnaround. This was supposed to be, all right, they have figured out enough to grind out a win or at least keep it close. None of that happened. None of that occurred. It is still the same problems, even against competition that is a few notches below what you were playing. So that really kind of tells you where Sam Houston is in the pecking order, because this isn't a New Mexico State team. They might battle for a bowl. Let me see who else they've got. They're at Liberty. That's a toss-up. I mean, Missouri State, they look pretty okay. That's a toss-up. Western Kentucky, toss-up. Kennesaw State, now they might win that one. 4. Tennessee, they're not going to win that one. UTEP, all right, you want to say 5? Middle Tennessee 6. That's not bad, but I mean, that's okay. Even if they're 6-6, they're occupying the spot that you want to be at. You want to be 6-6 because that's one of those 6 games that you're not going to get this year. Now you got to come back, quote, home, and Phil Longwood said they don't feel like it's home against Jacksonville State. You know, the 2 fumbles cost the Bearcats the game. Yeah, it did. It did. That first one again. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. I'm glad you brought up the fumbles. This is why I say jump in here. I have notes and thoughts about these. I have notes and thoughts. You know, I saw so many bubble screens. I wrote down on my notes here, and I've got a bunch. If you don't believe me, you know, I've got stuff here, right? We're doing this for you. We're doing this for you, give you expert analysis. We're watching every play. And I wrote down during all those bubble screens, it was the ghost of Brad Cornelsen. It was the ghost of Brad Cornelsen that I saw, because that was all those bubble screens that he was able to run. But now he was kind of able to get away with it because the offensive line was a lot better. This is an inferior offensive line compared to last year's. So they don't look as good. So because you're throwing it behind, Hunter Watson inaccurate, you know. So that's kind of what happened there. Oh, and then the second one. And this is not just unique to Sam Houston. The second one, honestly, I found the second one less disturbing than the Hunter Watson turnover when he threw it behind the line. Reason, across college football, I don't understand why if it's inside the 10 like that, why are you fielding it? Why? Nothing good can happen or come from that. Why are you even fielding it? Get away from it. And I don't understand why coaches are doing that. I see it across all college. I watch a lot of it. I watch a lot of college football on Saturdays, you know. See where Sam Houston stacks up and just enjoy the games. College football is awesome, right? I don't understand why that happens across and I'm going to write about that in the newsletter that we're going to release here in a few hours for the postgame New Mexico State. I don't understand why that happens. And Sam Houston was just the latest victim of it. Let's see. Excuse me. That ball needed to be on the wide. Yeah, there was a lot that was on Hunter Watson. You know, I see here that Hunter Watson had no time to throw the ball. There were times he had time. The offensive line still isn't great, but there were opportunities for him to throw. He was not accurate. He made the wrong reads when now we talked in the pregame about, is Hunter Watson going to get kind of what he wants, which is to run the football. So I said they kind of had to reach an agreement, and the agreement was, all right, the only time a quarterback in Phil Longo's system is going to get the ball is the zone read, and they even talked about it on the broadcast. So let's just run some of that with Watson. Problem, he about 2 or 3 times during the game, he did not make the right read. And had he made it, the drives would have continued or gotten a bigger chunk of yardage. High schoolers can do this stuff. That's what's scary. That's what's scary. And if you really feel Longo, and again, you're going to be here long-term and implement your system, it's just time to start the younger quarterbacks and just take your lumps. I'm not understanding the hesitancy, especially at this point. You're seeing what it's going to look like. You're seeing what it's going to look like pretty much the rest of the year. That was one of the weaker opponents that you're going to face. Now, you still got Middle Tennessee. They're not great. I mean, Oregon State, they're just like you. They're 0-5. You still got them on the schedule. By the way. And then you still got, there's one more. Yeah. Delaware increasingly looks like a good team you could beat. UTEP, is Malachi Nelson going to throw some picks, or is it going to be his get-right game? You know? So that's really what's going on with Sam Houston. Do I see this getting better? If they're smart, it can get better long term, but in the short term, I don't really know. And I wrote that down too. This could be an 0-12 season. There could be a world where you all are privy to history. The last 0-12 season I think University of Washington went 0-11 or 0-12 with Jake Locker? Or am I getting my people mixed up? I know Washington went 0-something at one time, once upon a time. That was not good. I think Kent State did it recently too. So that might be interesting. That's on the table. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen or not, but it's now on the table given what we saw against New Mexico State. Some of you, a lot of guys were injured. Oh, by the way, let me say something about the broadcast. Oh, God. How many times is the camera going to miss the freaking play? I'm down here trying to write my freaking notes, and I can't even see the ball. The camera guy keeps moving the ball. The camera person, not moving the ball, but the camera person on the main camera can't follow the freaking football. Like, what is going on? Oh, man. That old CBS Sports production, man. I tell you what. Lots of injuries for Sam Houston that entered this game. And, they keep saying all these injuries, but it's irrelevant because it is the same people making the same mistakes. Did they try on that big play in the second quarter? Did Sam Houston try a disguise fake cornerback blitz? They tried to send Alonzo Edwards Jr. It looked like he was going to blitz. Then he kind of stepped back. Then the guy got behind him. And it's like, dude, you got to pick one. Pick one. Either get burned or drop down and try to hit the quarterback. But you got to decide. And a lot of the rushes, the pass rushes kind of look like that. What did you all think about that? Sound off. What did you all see from the pass rush? I wanted to talk about that. Because what I saw was some linebackers coming up, kind of dropping back, not really wanting to move and do this. Like, wait, what is going on here? Commit. It can't be this wiggly wobbly. It's just like with the Hunter Watson thing. You can't sit here and teeter and keep doing this. It's got to be one or the other. You know, it's got to be that. What do you all think? Sound off. UCF post Bortles. Yeah. They went 0-12. Yeah, they sure did. Yeah, there's been a few. I mean, it doesn't happen every year, all the time, but there are some. And Sam Houston might join those proud ranks of 0-12. But and that's what I wanted to say though about it's time to question the coaching staff. I really think so because you've had 12 days. You've had 12 days and it looks like this, and they'll say that it's on us. We got to coach it better, and they need to. They need to. This isn't like trying to beat somebody when they're down, but when you look at that, it's like no, everything needs to get looked at, including the coaching staff. It's time to question them too. Are you putting the right players in? That goes for every position. Are you deciding on the right rushes? Are you deciding on the right play calls? There was so much questionable play calling. Like, how many of those bubble screens do you have to run before you realize that you don't really have the blockers? Now, Rayfield Lawton finally had one or two good blocks later in the game that led to some decent runs. But it's like, if you're going to swing it out, you got to have more guys. You can't, it's got to be one of those, here comes the cavalry, Patterson might need to call play. Yeah, I agree. Phil Longo's trying to do too much. I saw on the broadcast, did you all see after that first or second drive that Sam Houston had? It was there in the first quarter. He was sitting down intently with them, trying to just coach them and do all this different stuff. It's like, dude, you're over here coaching the quarterbacks up. Then you're trying to go call the plays. Like, there's a lot that you're doing. Yeah, it might be time for a different play caller. And during the offseason, I remember Phil Longo left the door open for that. But, we'll see. We'll see. With Longo just calling the play, these plays they just don't quite make sense. They don't quite make sense. I know they kind of start with a schedule, but what happens when you get off schedule? What happens when they figure out the schedule stuff? You got to counter with something else. And it's just not happening. Again, they were out coached today. This was a day, a lot of the 0-4 start, the first 4 games, that can be attributed and chalked up to, okay, they're just better than us. This was a game where it felt like, okay, they got out coached. They got out coached today, Now, I didn't say outclassed. That's different. Those are two different things. Outclassed is different. That didn't happen. But outcoached, out-strategized, I think that's what happened. Just from a pure analysis standpoint, that's what it looked like on paper to me, Because now the offense did generate 300 yards, which, okay, good. Finally, I said during in our keys to the game earlier this week, yeah, they needed to be functional. Yes, they were functional. The problem was going to be the turnovers. They had 3 turnovers, and they all led to points. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they all led to points. They never put the points off turnovers on here. I believe that they did. I just can't remember it off the top of my head, but that's a big problem. And the one turnover from Hunter Watson, the game was over by that time. I mean, it counts, yes, and that's embarrassing. The pick 6, it's just kind of just salt in the wound right at that point. But yeah, they did. Yeah, all were points off of turnovers. Yeah. Now there was one turnover where the defense was able to hold that made it look good. 17. There we go. Yep. 17 points off of turnovers. So if you take those away, it's 10-20. But that's the problem still, though, too. He only scored 10 points. There's just so many problems on this team right now. And so much of it's exposed as a talent issue. I mean, New Mexico State's got better guys than you. I mean, Kadarius Callaway, he looked like an all-star. Some of their receivers look like all-stars. This was a get-right game for Logan Fife. When I write my post game, what do you think about saying? What do you think about me making a reference to Wolverine because his name is Logan, right? I want to put something like his name isn't his name isn't Wolverine. He isn't Wolverine, but Logan slices Sam Houston. I want to try something like that. I always try to do a fun headline, especially with these, right? Yeah. I always try to be fun, especially right now. The team's 0-5, and I saw Phil Longo kind of crack a smile with Mabry. I think he was telling him something like, "Hey, you want to throw it downfield?" It's like, bro, you ain't throwing it downfield. So it's kind of, it's not, it's not quite teetering, but they need some positivity, right? And this isn't a cheerleading group for them. This is a media outlet, but it helps to be positive, especially these 0-5 times, because it gets a grind. It becomes a grind for the media, for people like myself to go and cover that all the time. It becomes a grind. Speaking of our coverage, next week we have a major announcement about some of our November coverage. Next week we have a major announcement about some of our November coverage. When you all get these shirts, when you all support what we do, we're able to go and do different things, and we got some major announcements coming up for you guys, right? So stick around for that at next week's broadcast. We do it every Thursday at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. 7:15 p.m. Central Time. So next week is the game for Jacksonville State. What does that mean going forward? Woo! Now, interestingly enough, Jacksonville State's got some quarterback questions of their own. They're going to have a chance to work that out tomorrow. So we'll see what that looks like. Here we go. A couple of home games coming in for Sam Houston against Jacksonville State. Here's the thing. How many of those games is Sam Houston going to be favored in? I got that's the problem with that comment right there. I like the comments. Continue to sound off. We're going to be here as long as you sound off, all right? Then there is no, as long as you're not a troll, as long as you're insightful, as long as you have, Jim Rome used to say it best, have a take, don't suck. This is a take and it doesn't suck. Those are the two rules, but we can agree and disagree with each other. So the only thing I'll add to this comment is, how many of those games do you think they're going to win, given what we just saw a few hours ago? And it's a tough question. It's a tough question. It's not me trying to be a troll. It's a genuine question. I'm not entirely sure that I'm not entirely sure how functional they'll be. So there are some home games that, quote, home games, because they're playing in Shell Energy. So that's a thing. That is a good thing. If you're Phil Longo, it is a thing. Win one, favorite probably both. I don't know that they'll be favored in both. I don't think they'll be favored. The game against UTEP could be a toss-up. Yeah. I mean, UTEP, to me, the UTEP, Middle Tennessee are still on the table. And Delaware, but it's increasingly getting away. Now, when we went into the season, I was saying, the new team on the block, new kids on the block, Delaware, Sam Houston should grind it out. But that Mariucci, I think Nick Mariucci, I can't say his name right, but their quarterback is pretty okay. And he might be able to slice up the Bearkat secondary, later in November. Especially if they're playing for a bowl. I don't think they can play in a bowl game because it's their first year. Those rules are weird. Those rules are weird. Let's see. But yeah, toss up. Jacksonville State is still no. I'm sorry. Jacksonville State's not. They're not going to win because their defense is big. Their defense has size. We interviewed some of those guys. They're aggressive and they get after it. I almost hate to say it, but you want to go home and start Hunter Watson Because if there's a game that they're going to get banged up, if you're Phil Longo, Nick Minucci, yeah, that's his name. That's the Delaware quarterback. Thank you. If you're Phil Longo and you kind of want to just let Hunter get banged up. You don't want your nice shiny new cars banged up. You can kind of mess up. You can kind of put that Honda Accord on the Houston freeway. So I think Hunter remains the starter, partly for that reason, implicitly. If you're Phil Longo, I would say some of that. There was another slight exchange on the sidelines with Phil Longo and Hunter Watson, a slight exchange. It wasn't a real argument, but there's disagreements there, and it's going to be like this the entire year. Unless there's a permanent change at quarterback, it's going to be like this all year. You're just going to keep having these same results, So we'll see. Alton McCaskill got the lion's share of the carries. I was a little disappointed that Coco Brown wasn't a little more influential, but he was in the passing game. Coco Brown was pretty good in the passing game. I thought that was pretty good. I don't understand again why Michael Phoenix isn't playing. He's a 6'4" wide receiver. These other receivers are small and tiny, and the only small and a lot of them are slow. Brady O'Neal, he was out of time with Hunter Watson, but he's a slow receiver. Hunter's trying to throw to him. He can't make that cut like that. That cut that a receiver can make where they're going the route here and then cut. That's an elite cut. Jeremiah Smith can do that at Ohio State, and you saw it against the Washington game if you watched it last week. But he can't do that. The only one that's close to that at that size is Malik Phillips. You don't have a lot of Tyreek Hills running around, all right? Tyreek Hill at his size works because he's got speed. Okay? It works because he's got speed. And it makes it even worse because, again, the wide receiver coach, he only started 2 months ago. So he doesn't even really know the guys. He doesn't even really know basically, yeah, I didn't want to say it like a little Freudian slip. He doesn't know these slow, undersized guys. That's what it's boiling down to with the receivers. Now, Malik Phillips was the leading receiver, and a lot of that came at the end on the 26-yarder. Well, yeah, Quavez, they tried to a little bit. They tried to a little bit. There were one or two passes. Let me see this. Yeah, they don't do the targets. There were one or two passes that were kind of a miss from Watson, or they were in traffic. That was a problem with me too. Lots of dangerous passes. This game probably could have been even worse because there were a couple of passes. I'm like, oh, they're throwing into traffic. A lot of black jerseys that they're throwing into, that the orange ones are throwing into, right? Yeah. Now Lonnie Atkinson hurt, Caleb Black hurt, but again, that's why I'm saying, why not put in Michael Phoenix? Why not throw him out there as well? You've got all these different guys. Just throw it all out there and see what's going on. I need to look at the participation chart. Has Michael Phoenix redshirted? Does he have a deal with someone else? This is the time when a lot of those guys start redshirting. I mean, Mekhi Hughes just redshirted at Oregon. And I think another guy did too. I think it was at Virginia Tech. By the way, Isaiah Cash last year on the Bearcats, cornerback who the Bearcats could really use. He can leave right now too. He could leave 30 days. The coach got fired. That wouldn't happen. I'm just being facetious and being funny. But I like Malik Phillips. I don't know why they don't get him more opportunities. Again, that's a function of the wide receivers coach. He's got to decide his depth chart. He doesn't really know these guys. So it's just I'm gonna give each of y'all a chance so I can learn y'all. And what is taking place now should have taken place in July during fall camp, but he didn't really arrive till that started. So hopefully this looks better next year. Because good teaching is going to have to overcome the fact that they are at a talent deficiency. That's what it's going to have to be. But it's so tough right now when the teacher just started. I went to Westfield High School in Houston, Texas. And I remember there would be certain classes. We'd have a teacher come in and out, 2 and 3 different times. We had like 3 different change outs. You know what I'm saying? You don't really know as a kid, but when you get older, it's like, man, yeah, it's kind of rough. They just be slamming the teacher in there, and they just be trying to catch y'all up. They just be trying to like keep their head above water, drink it through a fire hose. And that's what the wide receiver coach, Keon Williams, that's what he's doing right now. He's out here drinking through a fire hose with these wide receivers for Sam Houston. So there's that. That's what's happening. Let's see. What else stuck out? I mean, just a solid day on the ground. I mean, solid-ish. They didn't allow a 100-yard rusher. To me, I evaluate the rushing game. How many rushing yards did you give up? Is it under 100? Yes. Problem, you gave up 2 touchdowns on the ground. So it kind of offsets what you were able to do. You gave up 132 yards to TK King, who 5'9", and he's undersized. He's not even a sizable receiver. Texas Tech, Wyoming transfer. He's not even like a large guy. Now he's doing what a small 5'9" guy is supposed to be doing. But they've got a quarterback and a pure system that they want to run, and an offensive coordinator that's on the same page, and there'll be a team fighting for a bowl. And they had a turnover as well. They also had a turnover. But Sam Houston had 3, you had 3, they had 1. So there's that. Going forward, this is it could be a tough sled. But you better believe it. The post game after each game, and we'll have an announcement about some of those on Thursday, a week from tonight, 7:15 p.m. We will be here for the post game. 0-5, 0-12, 12-0. However, wherever it goes, we will be there. If you all continue to support, you all continue to let people know that we are here, the only independent media outlet covering Sam Houston football year-round. This is Bearkat Bites, the post-game show. You all have a good night. We'll see you all. Subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. All college football is good college football. The links are in the description.